Did you know that you could use retroflex R to improve the ringing quality in your sound? When we use a retroflex R, it lowers the frequency of the third formant. What I've always found is if you can use articulation and language sounds to change the frequencies of a formant, or the frequency of a formant, and take it through a pretty big frequency range or range of motion, you can probably improve it by figuring out just how to control the frequency. So for the third formant, a retroflex R will take it through its full range of motion from its highest frequency to its lowest frequency. So if I was to say ah, when I said that ah at a speech level, the third formant was at about 2500 hertz. So right in there. All right. If I say ah, then a retroflex ah, R, notice what happens to the frequency of the third formant. R, R. So that third formant goes from approximately 2500 hertz down to about 1300 hertz. So that took it through a pretty big frequency range, just as big as the first formants can move when you're doing combinations of like ooh and ah or e and ooh. So what can we do with this? What if I started with e, e, er, e, er, e, er, e, er. So now starting on E, the second and the third formant are pretty close together because I started on E. When I drop through this range, as I go from E to the second and the third formant cluster and get pretty strong and create and then clearly we can follow they've clustered here at the bottom of that articulation pattern. So now the second and the third formant are very close together, and following Sundberg's observations on the singer's formant cluster, when formants are close together, they tend to boost each other. What happens if we could use that to figure out how to get a stronger second formant, how to just kind of improve our output overall by going through that range of motion, kind of discovering cause and effect in the instrument? So we could apply to a scale. So if I was to start without it, now if I wanted to play around with that a little bit, I would add E, and then the ah, and sing the scale. E, So we don't want to perform on a retroflex R. We want to save that sound for the practice room because when we sing on a retroflex R, it messes around with how we perceive the pitch. But we have this benefit of using the retroflex R helps us figure out range of motion in our articulators, and it could help us improve the overall output of the first and second formant, but also help us find a clustering of the third and fourth as we're creating singer's formant cluster. So I said E, second formant, third formant, went to R, clustered 2 and 3 together, released that to ah, the second formant stays low, the third formant shoots back up to its original position or close to it, and now we've got a strong singer's formant cluster throughout this scale and pretty well defined strong first and second formants going through that, and honestly leaning towards more of a strategy based on the second resonance as we walk up through that. So this is one exercise that you can use whether it's lower voice classical singing or treble classical singing in the mid-range, working on ah vowels in particular, or working on your mixed belt to help improve those things.